Welcome back to the tavern, guys. I'm the host for the evening, Muji. Chill, relax, and listen to me cover some great stories. Today we continue what we have started previously, and that is New X-Men's E's For Extinction. Before we begin, I'd like to urge you to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that bell notification so you can get alerted whenever we drop. So also leave your thoughts in the comments, and I also appreciate the discourse. Anyway, let's begin. We start this issue with Donald Trask and Cassandra Nova standing in front of Master Mold's head. This panel's detailing is beautiful, and that's some wallpaper material right there. Donald tells Cassandra when he woke up this morning he didn't expect to exterminate 15 million people, and Cassandra doubles down and tells him they aren't people, they are dirty stinking mutants. Boy, what the actual fudge. There's hating and there's Cassandra Nova. Cyclops and Wolverine have arrived in the X-Wing, but it's a little bit too late as some of the classic Mark I Sentinels have been dispatched. Ugly John comes too as an attack on mini Sentinel that kind of look like the Buzzard droids from Revenge of the Sith assaults the X-Wing. Wolverine makes the observation that Master Mold is in full production and explains to a panic Ugly John what a Sentinel was. Ugly John doesn't care and he just wants to get the fuck out. As the Wild Sentinels begin to take apart the X-Wing, Cyclops looks in and goes, "This is where the fun begins," as one of their engine gets taken out, causing the X-Wing to crash, and as they crash land, Logan wonders how much Xavier paid for the X-Wing. And Cyclops clears it up by calmly brushing it off by telling him he survived more plane crashes than any other mutant. Insurance typically sorts these kind of things out, which is a callback to him surviving the plane crash from his childhood. A bit morbid if you ask me, anyway. Wolverine tells Cyclops, "You know what I admire about you, Summers? Your icy calm lunacy under pressure," and Scott brushes it off and immediately calls for Wolverine's access codes so that they can blow up the X-Wing and cause the Sentinels that will salvage the hardware to incinerate in the fire. They eject from the X-Wing and land somewhere below the Master Mold unit. Looking at the scrapped parts, Wolverine remarks he has never seen a unit like this before, as well as properly calling out the fact that they have a civilian in tow for this mission. Then from the bushes, more Wild Sentinels appear, opening fire on the trio. Luckily, Ugly John is safe as Logan takes the bullets for him. Cyclops jumps in and takes out the Wild Sentinel, however, the explosion throws him off the ledge, separating him from the duo. More Sentinels swarm their location and they put up a fight but are taken out. Back at the mansion, Beast is laying down his race game on Trish, sending her messages. To add a bit of context, Beast and Trish have dated in the past and she did travel around space with Hank, way back in some previous runs. Beast puts a stop to his racing game and goes to check in on Charles, who Jean is taking care of. Jean questions why Charles has a gun and he clears it up that it's for emergency reason in case someone wants to take over his mind and there is no hope he'd use the blinky on himself. That's crazy, that is wild. Xavier tells both Jean and Hank he needs to get into contact with Scott and Logan and is of the utmost importance. Moving over to Cassandra and Donald, Donald begins to have second thoughts, claiming he's just a dentist and begins to wax on about how it would be humane to kill 15 million people and how would they actually save the human race. Cassandra reassures him that he's not putting down human beings but vermin. God, what is this woman's problem? When Donald shows a bit of uncertainty, she reveals something. She knows the sudden influx of power excites Donald, as well as being aware of his fantasies of owning mutant slaves, specifically women and children in his basement. What the actual fudge? She suddenly puts her hand inside this man and kind of drags it across his body as she reassures him she does not hate him, and she also reveals she doesn't need him either. She just needed his DNA. And she had spent the last 10 hours copying it, and she imparts her last lesson. All life ends up as manure regardless of its origin. What is this woman's problem? I need to ask you guys. Tell me in the comments, what is her problem? As she goes on to meet the captured prisoners, we hear news outlets cover some carnage across the world in places like South Africa and Cape Verde. And of the Sentinels she has dispatched, she kind of confronts Ugly John and he pleads for his life as she yaps on about the original Sentinels being restricted by their size, and she injects herself with Donald's DNA sequence. She orders the Sentinels to kill Piggy. That's what she calls him. Rest in peace, Bacon Boy. As she moves over to Wolverine, he manages to break out and capture her as a hole gets blown open in the side of the room. Cyclops shows up and walks over to John and puts him out of his misery. Scott walks over to Wolverine, who has now captured Cassandra, and she's chuckling to herself. Then they now ask the question, Where did she send those sentinels? Over at Genosha, Emma Frost is treating her class on the basics of telepathy when Negasonic Teenage Warhead just says everyone is going to die as the classroom explodes, reminiscent of the X-Men 97 episode. Press Sentinel had arrived in Genosha as Magneto watches on helplessly as this giant metallic fist takes him out of the room. This spread is iconic, and we see so much happening without so much as dialogue bubbles or any sort of thing, and it's just a massacre. The population dwindles from 16 million to 11 million to 800,000 to 706 mutants left. Charles Xavier watches on helplessly as the people of Genosha are massacred, and he says a line no one saw it coming and they were just drinking tea and making love. All the lights are going out and no one saw as tears stream down his face. This was intense, guys. This chapter was a lot more action heavy than the first one, and this was an insane development. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and see you next week for the next episode. Go back to the Fire Nation!